Hello friends, Kemcho, how are you? So today in this video, I'm going to agree with Karan Johar and stay with me. It's a very interesting analogy. But first, let me read this post about what Mr. Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, is talking or saying about open source versus closed source. So let me read this post. Jensen Huang says, frankly, I think closed models are cheaper. If you don't have to build yourself, if you don't have the training yourself, cost a lot of expertise to fine tune and maintain and guardrail and keep it safe and evaluated, and of course even build computers to host it. So there's nothing cheap about doing that. The reason why you need open models is because you need to have control, because you need to adapt something for your own very specialized use case. So in regular language, what Jensen Huang is saying is that for 99% of the people, closed source is enough. For example, what are the examples of closed source AI? These are the two big boys, ChatGPT and Claude. All of you must be either using ChatGPT or Claude or both. Now, how much time did it take for you to get on ChatGPT or Claude? 2 seconds. You go to chatgpt.com and you can start asking questions. Same thing with Claude. Or you can just download, if you're an Android phone, go to Play Store, download ChatGPT or Claude and start asking question. Or you download OpenAI. Or if you're on iPhone, go to App Store and you download. And what are your questions? Your questions are similar. What is the recipe for biryani? Now, do you really want to know what happens when you ask the question? 99% people don't care. I ask the question, I get the answer. Who is the first Prime Minister of India? Jawaharlal Nehru. Do I really need to know exactly how this answer came? Answer is no. Which means for vast majority of the people, closed source is very easy because there is zero setup required. If you create your account, then it will save your history. And creating an account is probably, if you're on iPhone, it is just show your Face ID with login with Apple ID, and you are off to the races. So this is what Mr. Jensen Huang said. Now, who needs an open AI, right? For example, if you want to do some specific research on, say, cancer drug, and you have this proprietary data, then what you do is you get the download the open source model. First of all, you have to buy hardware, which is what Jensen Huang says. You have to buy the hardware. So you have to buy, if you want to do it at your home as a hobby, then you buy Mac Mini. If you are a big company like any pharmaceutical company, you can buy servers. So first step, buy the hardware. Second, download the open source model. Third, you have to train the model with your data. Fourth, you have to put the guardrails that the agents that you create don't go all around the world and cause havoc. So you have to train, and then you have to have compliance, right? There are government laws. You cannot just do anything and everything. And then now you have to fine tune the model, right? So it is like continuing education, right? You come out of the college, you go to work for Microsoft, and then 2 years later, Microsoft will send you to some Harvard for some training because technology keeps changing. So that is continuing education. Similarly, model also needs continuing education, fine tuning based on new information available. All of the things that you have to do manually. Now, why would you do that? The only reason is when the payoff is high. For example, I'm doing cancer research, I'm doing finding cure for baldness. These are like very specific problems that require total control of the model. But if I want to know how much salt to put in 3 cups of rice, I don't need to do that. I can just ask ChatGPT. I'm making 3 cups of rice. How many grams of salt should I put in it? I'll get the answer. Now, how does this fit into Karan Johar? So, a few years ago, there was a big debate going on nepotism. And Karan Johar, in one of the interviews, said, yeah, I hire Nepo kids. And the reporter asked the question, why do you hire kids of the stars? So Karan Johar said that in my use case, the movies that I make, if I hire a person who is a star kid, I don't have to teach them horse riding. I don't have to teach them I don't have to teach them motorcycle riding. I don't have to teach them how to eat with fork and knife. I don't have to teach them fashion, because all these kids, they are kids of rich people, and they already know fashion. They already know perfume. They already know how to eat with fork and knife, and on and on and on. So what Karan Johar is saying is that, assuming in this analogy, the kids of the stars are like the closed AI. For a narrow use case, I don't have to read, I don't have to train them, I don't have to teach them so many things that are required in my movie. The problems of first world problems, or the problems of rich people, which is what Karan Johar's movies are, right? Heartbreak, romance, right? These people already have been through heartbreaks, romance, maybe a few relationships, and on and on and on. So for that reason, Karan Johar says, it doesn't make sense for me to go to the India and get the best talented person and then teach him all the things that I'm getting it for free. So this is the analogy. So this raw talent is important. They are the best actors in India. But the problem is, Karan Johar says, I bring the best actor. Now I have to teach him how to horse ride, how to be on the sailboat, how to be on a cruise liner, where these kids have already been on multiple cruises. They have done all the things that they have to do in the movie. So if somebody has to make a movie on, say, George Washington or some historical figure in India, then you go to the raw talent, because you have to train the person anyways to become George Washington and stuff like that. So in that case, you get the best talent from India and you teach them how to act on the particular role. But for a narrow use case of problems of rich people, heartbreaks, and stuff like that, for example, Student of the Year. Student of the Year movie is about rich kids going to a private boarding school in, I think, Dehradun. Now you can get the best actor and teach him how does it feel to be a rich kid in the private boarding school, or you can just get the kids of the movie stars who have already done that. You get the point. They've already been to private boarding schools. They already know the environment. They already know the culture. So they are a perfect fit. So this is why, after all these years, I think Karan Johar had a point. He got a lot of negative feedback from the media, but I think maybe he was not able to explain his point of view properly, or maybe we did not understand what he's trying to say. But if you really listen to the CEO of the world's second largest company, it was number one by market cap, but Apple is now number one in market cap. Nvidia is number two. So if you believe the CEO of Nvidia, then he's exactly saying the same thing what Karan Johar said with reference to movie industry. What Jensen Huang is saying is, use closed system, OpenAI, ChatGPT, and Anthropic for vast majority of the cases where learning is not required. Somebody else has taken care of all those things. And use open source for a specific use case. Similarly, if you want to make a regular movie about rich people, hire the kids of rich people and you don't have to train them. If you want to make a very specific movie about his periodic movie and all, where every actor has to train, has to learn how to talk what they talked 100 years ago and all, get the best talent. So I hope if you're not convinced by Karan Johar, you will be convinced by Jensen Huang's argument. Thanks for watching this video. Until next time, bye-bye.